trying to log back in.
Okay, well. Hello, family. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Epic Understanding. So I have Sal Ali here. He's having a few technical difficulties with bringing his face on board, but I do have him on the phone. Sal, say hello.
Hello.
All right. So excellent. So I will continue to interview him while he's trying to get everything settled in there. I just can't tell you what's going on. But the point of the matter is you are still, regardless of your internet issues, you still are a cannabis executive. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it sounds better than what it really is, right?
Well, I don't want to, it's not that it's glamorous or anything like that. It's just that you're on the cutting edge. You are on the cutting edge of a brand new industry. It's still not legal in all 50 states. It's still not legal federally, but yet you've been in this business for how many years?
Pretty much my whole life. I mean, but from the legal aspect of cannabis, I've been in it for over 10 years now.
Okay, so you've been in this business for over 10 years. You've tried to figure out and navigate these new systems as they come about. So that is pretty interesting. And so I want to know more about how this journey has come for you, how it's been for you.
It's great. It's something that I love to do, and I've been pretty much doing it my whole life. The journey's been a struggle. It's been really hard. I've been through probably every trial and tribulation you can think of when it comes to the cannabis industry and the cannabis business.
Hey, there you are. I see you.
All right.
Hey. That's amazing. Hi, is that your?
Yes, my wife.
Hi. Hi, wife. Thank you for helping us.
You're welcome.
All right. So, you've been in the cannabis industry basically since it began. On the legal side, I know you worked in the manufacturing part of it, or the cultivation part of it, and now you have your own dispensary.
Correct. So I have a cultivation facility here in Las Vegas where I'm currently at it right now. Have a retail dispensary in Oklahoma, and have a cultivation facility there, but it's in the process of getting built out and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
So can you walk us? We're using cultivation facility and retail facility. Can you really break down for us, what is that? What does all that entail?
So when it comes to the cannabis industry, right, it's broken down into categories of different types of cannabis, what they call cannabis establishments, right? So your first one that you think of is the retail establishment, which is what you would refer to as a dispensary, where people come and actually purchase the product. And then you also have like the delivery aspect of it from the retail side as well. And you have different delivery services depending on what state and where it's located, whether or not that license is allowed or not. But then there's manufacturing, that's people who actually process it and make it into concentrates and extracts and edibles and different things like that. And then you also have the people who wholesale it. There's wholesalers, there's distributors, you know. So all the way down the supply chain, there's different types of cannabis establishments that are being created, and new ones being created every day.
That's amazing. I want a researcher to find out what states is marijuana actually legal in. I'm curious to know.
Well, right now, as far as medically, it's medically legal in almost all the states. I mean, there's very few states now that don't have some sort of medical cannabis law on the books, whether it's for CBD or THC. There's almost every state has some sort of medical law or exemption on the books. When it comes to like adult use or what we call recreational, there's probably like 15 states now or so. Last time I checked, 15 or 16, maybe more now, states that are legal for both medical and adult use for anyone 21 up or 21 or older.
You're actually answering a question for me, because I was curious if you actually indulged in marijuana, but obviously
Yes.
obviously you do. So I'm just wondering, would you be involved in the business if you were not, enjoying the products?
That's a good question. I don't know if I would be or not. It's always been a passion of mine, even as a teenager, growing up. I started selling, weed or marijuana, whatever, cannabis, when I was 12 years old. And
really?
Yeah.
How'd you get your hands on it?
I had older brothers, I had cousins, I had people in the neighborhood. Back then, it wasn't, when you grew up, you grew up with the people around you. It wasn't like now where everybody's on the phone and, everybody communicates via social media and everything else. Back then it was, people in your neighborhood, but yeah, so I've been pretty much in it my whole life, and I've always had a passion for it. When I first got into the industry, like the legal side of the industry, 10 or so years ago, from the medical side, that's when I started really learning about wow, huge
That's when you started learning about what now?
The fact that the medical side, that it really has huge benefits for people. Like it really, the medically, I didn't realize how important of a medicine it was until I actually started seeing people coming into my dispensary and being a caregiver and growing for people and seeing how it affected them from a medical standpoint. And that was really eye-opening for me. And that's what really solidified me wanting to pursue a career in the industry and continue on forward in the industry.
That is amazing. So how many different kinds of marijuana do you have in your dispensary?
Oh, in our dispensary, we have a lot. I mean, there's any given day, there's probably, 15 to 30 different strains of cannabis. And, we carry all the other products, pre-rolls, infused pre-rolls, concentrates, and
pre-rolled and infused pre-rolled. What does that mean? What does that even mean?
What a pre-roll means is like this. You see how I just roll this up?
Okay, yeah.
Cigar. So this would be called a pre-roll if I was to sell it in a retail dispensary, because it's already been rolled.
How much would something like that cost?
It can go anywhere from $10 to $20.
You're lying to me.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
wow. Wait, Someone says infused and pre-rolled are to die for. I guess that's really, really good. I don't know. So if you haven't been able to tell, I'm not experienced in marijuana smoking.
No, I couldn't tell.
But I do find it interesting. I find it very interesting. I find the business aspect of it interesting. I find the medical aspect of it interesting because that's where you and I crossed paths. Path. You know, we were
We were
well
working
actually
a program for the school. Yeah.
right, exactly. Looking at a program for a school, and it's a school it's a medical school
Medical.
actually. And so I really think something extremely natural used to heal people. I think that is magnificent. Our researcher, if you can find out, there is a particular marijuana that is used to heal um, seizures.
A particular. Well, what it was is these guys became famous because they created a strain called Charlotte's Web initially, which is a high CBD strain.
Oh, okay.
And so it was high in CBD and low in THC, so it didn't get people high. So it was good to use on children because you didn't have to worry about the side effects of them getting high from it. But it worked particularly well for epileptic children.
So what's the name of that? Do you know the name of that already? Because it's named after well, she was 5
Charlotte
when she,
is what it was.
yeah. See, I watched a documentary on that.
Yeah. Named after a girl who had, epilepsy, who they helped with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So CBD does not get you high, correct?
That's correct.
To your knowledge, is CBD good for arthritis?
I think cannabis in general is good for a host of hundreds, maybe even thousands of different.
No, I'm very I'm serious about that.
People with arthritis that have used like cannabis infused lotions and gels, and they say it works for them great. I don't know if it's snake oil or if it's if they're just a lot of times people get that what's that effect they call it? Placebo effect.
Okay.
But I know people that swear by it, that for arthritis and all types of joint pains and different pains.
All right. So our researcher, Tall Dark, is verifying a couple of different strands. What do you know about this Ringo's Gift? What do you know about that? And then there is a Sour Widow. What do you know about that?
I mean, there's a lot of different high CBD strains out there. Those are some of them. Now they're coming out with all different types of variations of different cannabinoids that have never been really, researched before, like CBG and CBC and CBN. CBN is becoming really popular right now.
And what is CBN for?
It's really, a lot of people use it for sleep, right? Because
really?
It's really helpful to get people to go to sleep. So that's one of the main things that it's used for.
Hungry, happy, sleepy.
Right.
I am sure the dwarves had some marijuana going.
That's true, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about some more of the business end of things. Tell me how it works with your banking situation, because you can't put your money in the bank.
Well, you can. I mean, it's all about like here in Vegas, like we got all the big, huge corporations. They all have bank accounts, right? If you're big enough,
right,
you can get a bank account as a cannabis business.
Wait a minute. Say that again. How does it work?
I said, if you're a big enough company and you have enough money, you can get, bank accounts are being offered to cannabis businesses nowadays. It's just that it is, for a lot of us, it's just not affordable. You know, it's the fees that they charge is almost insane. You know,
Like what? What are the fees like?
thousands of dollars a month in fees to just to have a checking account. You know what I mean, or a basic checking account.
But what are the names of the fees? How are they identifying
For,
your?
for compliance, so because for cannabis businesses, banks have to maintain a certain level of compliance that they don't have to do with traditional accounts. So that added labor for them to file those extra reports that they have to file and do the extra stuff they have to do is what you as a company pay for in those monthly fees. Right.
Oh, okay. Um, uh, Daryl says that some is up to 5K.
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
wow?
So imagine like entered smaller cannabis business that's not a huge corporation paying an additional $5,000 a month just to have a bank account. It's just not feasible for some, you know.
So what do you do with your money as a if you don't have that kind of money? How do you
But
operate?
everything operates in cash. You know, we pay rent in cash, we pay our utilities in cash, we pay our taxes in cash. We, you know,
What? So you couldn't even buy a CD? Could you buy a CD?
like for instance, in Oklahoma, we have a bank. Banking over there is very reasonable. It's like one of the few states where I've seen like, wow, like there's multiple banks, FDIC insured banks that are offering accounts for businesses, and the fees are very affordable there. So we have an account there. Whereas here in Nevada, we can't have an account because the fees are ridiculous.
So could you take your money from that you earn in Nevada and put it in the bank in Oklahoma from
No,
your
no,
no?
can't do that.
Why?
Two separate businesses.
But if it was the same business, could you do it?
I don't think so. Like cannabis is so highly regulated. You do anything that's in a gray area, you're going to get hit, and you know God knows what could happen to you. Lose your license, fines, maybe even go to court or jail. You know, it's a you're taking risks by doing anything because banks are federally insured, and yes, even though that bank is allowing you to open an account, they're allowing you to open an account for that specific business that in that state, not for your business that you have in the other state. You see what I'm saying? So if you're depositing money from this state into that state, you're violating the bank's policy.
Mm. So do you just keep the cash like in a safety deposit box in the like if you can't afford to do the banking, do you keep the money in a safety deposit box or something? Because I'm very interested in.
I'm not gonna say on a
Okay.
thing on what we do with our cash and everything.
Well, not you
But
per se, but the general
like
the
other
general
well,
business. What are you hearing?
right. People have safes that they build underground. People have safes that they have in certain locations that are offsite that they keep, and they have armored transportation that goes in between. You know, there's people are creative in all different types of ways of how to protect their
So there are a lot of different options, basically, that people come up with in order to keep their business functioning. Bury it in the yard. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Now, being that you are, I mean, because everything you do is legal. What do you think about people who are still selling marijuana in the old-fashioned way?
I think more power to them. Like I came from that same struggle, so I understand. And I have much love for those people. I'd like to see them come into the legal side. Like my whole goal is to bring people where I came from with me and to show them that they can do it on the legal way and show them that there's an opportunity to build wealth for their family and generational wealth and things like that. So, you know, I can't never hate on people who are, you know, coming from the traditional market, the same place I came from. So.
Okay. You know what? You put that real smooth, coming from the traditional market. I like that. I like that. But I have to tell you, much of the old money came from bootlegging. The old money in America, a lot of it came from bootlegging back when there was prohibition.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of monies came from different, you know, from bootlegging, from all types of different drugs. You know what I mean? Is built this country in a lot of different ways. You know, it's through its economy.
I got it. I got it. So, are you offering classes? Is there a seminar? If somebody wanted to somebody's watching this, right? Someone's watching this and they say, you know, Sal is making some good points there. And I think it's something I want to get into. Are you offering a seminar or anything like that?
You know what? It's like I'm so busy with everything that I do. Like, I don't necessarily have time to do seminars or to do things like that. Like, I don't, you know, I'm if if it was that much of a demand and people were like really want to, then yeah, I'm fine doing the seminar, doing whatever. Like, I always, like, even, you know, you see me on LinkedIn and stuff, I'm always offering help to people, and you know, I've made a lot of connections that way. I never sell my business or sell my services to anyone. I just, through word of mouth and through networking and just being, you know, a person and, you know, an individual, I get my business that way, and that's how I do business. So it's like I'm not really into the, you know, the sales aspect of trying to promote and go out and do seminars and, you know, do this and that. You know, it maybe in the future, but you know, right now I just try to focus on my businesses, and you know, it's hard enough doing that. So
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you ran into some real challenges running your business. Can you share a little bit of those?
yeah, I mean, again, if you're not funded or backed by multimillionaires, you know, it's really hard to make it in this industry. So it's been, you know, it's been a very hard struggle, because just maintaining the requirements and learning. So as an owner operator, you have to both, you know, you have to wear a lot of different hats, you know. So,
Hmm.
you know, sometimes I have to be the grower, the janitor, the compliance person, you know what I mean, the inventory guy, you know, you have to learn every aspect of the business, because you don't have the funding or you know, the manpower behind you to go out and fill those roles with individuals separately. So it it's very tough. You know, it's very tough in the beginning until you learn everything, and until you go through all the heartache. And you know, like, I've had issues with employees, you know, this standard business issues that every business goes through, every startup goes through, you know. But it's just a lot harder when you're in a industry that requires a lot of capital, and is very capital intensive, and you don't have banks that you can go to get a loan. You don't have, you know what I mean, the standard options that a normal business would have. You don't have that. You have to go and try to raise funding through private equity and through, you know, hard money lenders. And, you know, I've been through issues where you know, I've taken predatory loans, like stupid, you know, making stupid mistakes and taking predatory loans, because I thought that, you know, it was the best decision for my business to take off, but not realizing I'm putting myself in a real bad scenario, you know what I mean? And that's what you end up having to deal with in the cannabis industry if you don't have backing behind you, and if you don't have that, because you start to get desperate sometimes, and you might say, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this, but you know, you may be in a situation where you end up doing it anyways, because you know, you feel you're in a moment of desperation or something like that. So it's been tough all around the way, but it's been, it is what it is. That's the learning experience, like something that I try to teach other people, that they don't make the same mistakes I made going through it, and save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of heartache. Do it the right way from the beginning, because you know if you don't, it ends up costing you more in the end.
So the dispensary is one part of the business, and then the cultivation is another part of the business. What are some other roles that people can get into, or careers they can get into um, within the cannabis industry?
There's so many roles, it's almost hard to even break them down. I mean, like I said, I've been doing staffing for a long time for cannabis companies. So I've hired and fired hundreds of people, and I've placed hundreds of people in different positions throughout not only my companies but other people's companies as well. So there's almost everything you can think of, even from the traditional business field. You can be a marketing person, you can be accountant, you can be, there's need in the cannabis industry for every aspect of business that people can easily transition from. you know, uh, if you're coming from a marketing background, accounting background, a construction background, those people are heavily needed, in the industry. You know,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
say,
earlier we had someone, I believe her name was Terry Dunn, and she was like, "Teach me the business." But I'm listening to you. It sounds challenging. It sounds like it's kind of complicated these days. Basically, if I'm listening, if I'm hearing you right, it would almost be best to take whatever talent you have, then get into the industry, use that talent so that you can learn more about it.
right, 100% agreed.
That way you are not just going in blind, because you were in this business since you were 12, so you obviously knew a lot about the different strands of marijuana and the business of marijuana, but
Right,
then you just decided to go legal.
right. So there's this thing in the industry right now. There's like two different subsets, right? There's the people who are kind of like myself, who grew up in the industry, who've been growing it and selling it their whole lives, who are trying to get into the industry either as owners or as operators or whatever, and who have been doing it. Then there's the other subset of people who don't have that experience, who are business people from other avenues and other industries, who see the potential in the cannabis industry from a business standpoint and want to get in the industry, right? So there's those two subsets, but the thing is, what's needed is both. You know what I mean? Like, you need the people who have the traditional market experience, but you also need the people who have the marketing background. You need the people who have the business operations background. You need the people who have like logistics and inventory management background and compliance. You know, so it's like it's interesting in cannabis. It's like you have to marry the two cultures together, and in order to create like a successful cannabis business, because you need both aspects of it, right?
So Daryl says, don't shy away from creating a ancillary business that doesn't have to touch the plant.
Exactly.
So
Right.
what does that look like? Give me, Daryl, please give me
Like,
some examples, and I'm curious to know what you have to say,
So
Sal.
there's software, people that create software for, seed to sale tracking. There's people that create, just like we said, accounting practices that specialize in cannabis. There's people that have marketing agencies that specialize in cannabis. Those are all ancillary companies. There's people that sell grow equipment, that sell, the soils and the lighting. There's people that sell, you know, almost everything you can think of to the industry, from agriculture to food and beverage and restaurant. Like, all of it touches cannabis, right? All that stuff. And so those are all ancillary operators, people that sell packaging, the packaging equipment.
Ooh, the packaging. Wait a minute. All right. This is what I'm security and event planning. Event planning. That is a good one. I
Yep.
like that. But the security, that's something that we've talked about before. You have to have a lot of security.
Yeah, you have to have a ton of security. I mean, most states like require that your whole facility is completely covered under camera. Every inch of it.
Is that a regulation or you just do that just because?
No, that's typically a regulation, but it's actually good to me. That's good practice. That's if you're able to do it, you should do it.
So they're talking about delivery. How do delivery services work in your industry?
So every state has different delivery regulations, right? So
Mhm.
some states they only allow dispensaries, like you have to have a retail dispensary license to deliver to consumers. Some states have a completely separate delivery license that you can acquire that either it's basically like a courier license where you get it from the retailer and you're just delivering it, so you're just like a Grubhub or a DoorDash type of thing. Or then there's also delivery licenses where you can go straight, like the delivery operator can go straight to the wholesaler and buy it from them and then repackage it and sell it to the consumer, which is a better model because they get to go straight to the wholesaler as to having to get it from the retailer. Yeah.
Hmm. That's very interesting. So it really depends on what state you're in, who can deliver that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, I saw a company on the internet, and they are just operating and delivering anywhere to anybody. How are they doing that?
Wait, you saw what now?
Now, we've already said that I'm a novice, right? But they were advertising that they can deliver marijuana via, you go on the internet, type it in, poof, marijuana delivery at your door. 30 minutes or less. I mean, I don't know if it's 30 minutes or less. I'm just saying.
Sounds like the traditional market people to me. I mean, that's capitalism there. I mean, I don't think that that's a licensed operation that's doing that.
Oh, so you don't think that they're licensed?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Okay, got it. And so it doesn't matter that they're advertising it. Are people not catching, um, well, I guess not. A lot of people aren't prosecuting um, marijuana sales these days.
Yeah, I mean, as well, I don't think they should, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think anybody should go to prison over a plant. Like there should be some sort of consequences, but not that, not prison.
So, I'm actually in agreement with you. I do not like the idea of people spending their life savings and then years upon years in jail for selling marijuana or doing marijuana. I think that's ridiculous.
Agree.
Particularly in today's climate, that doesn't make sense to me. And as far as I'm concerned, I would very much like for anybody who's incarcerated currently for marijuana only. So not if you had marijuana in a gun, or not if you were beating up on somebody and you had marijuana. So if you are incarcerated because of marijuana alone, I think it is not in our interest as a country to continue to house you, because we're keeping you from being a productive citizen, and you're actually costing us money. I want you to go out and make some money so you can pay taxes too.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, that's why they have the organizations like the Last Prisoner Project and things like that, because they are trying to get people out of prison for marijuana. But the problem is if you don't change the laws that are putting them in prison in the first place, like you get one guy out of prison, for every one guy you get out of prison, 10 more have just been sentenced to prison for the same crime. You know what I mean? So it's like it's gonna be a never-ending cycle unless you actually change the laws that put them in prison.
Well, I think, the government is slow to move when it comes to changing laws, but I will say that a lot of attorney generals are just not prosecuting those. A lot of judges are like not hearing the cases. They're just not attacking it in the way that they did in the early 2000s and in the 90s.
Yeah, no, that I know that they definitely slow down a little bit. So
So, what do you think what information can you offer someone um, about getting into the business? I know you shared a little bit, but there are people who really want to start up, and I know you said about the millions of dollars and all of that, but what if somebody wants to start off small? What can they do?
I mean, and a lot of people ask me this. You have to be willing to you have to be willing to uproot yourself and move somewhere else. Like if the place where you're located, if it's really no opportunity for you there or near there, you got to go to a place where there is an opportunity where it makes sense. Like a lot of people who want to start small, you got to be willing to go to a place where the licensing fees are low, where it's a lower barrier to entry, where there's less capital requirements, because a lot of these states, they want you to show proof of funds before, as part of your application. So you have to show $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is that they're requiring. So but some states don't. So you have to look at some cities and some towns. So you have to do your research and
Hmm.
find
Yeah.
I really want to pursue as a business. Am I willing to uproot my family and move 2,000 miles away to do it, or 500 miles or whatever it is?
So where would you go to find you're saying barriers to entry? Where would you go to find this information? Where should someone start their research?
There's no like place where you can just go and find the, it's like it's got to be something that you have to go and find yourself and do the research, and you know like me, I search every day cannabis. I all the news feeds. I search marijuana. If I look at the updates, what new state just came online, what city is passing a new ordinance, what town is doing this and that. So I keep up to date. It's like current events. You have to keep on top of it, see who's doing what and what's. It's all on the news. Like every time a new state does a new law, every time a new city opens up a dispensary, it's all there. It's all on the news, but it's not just one place you can go and get the information.
So
So
are there any blogs that people could follow?
blogs, let me think. I mean, no, what's useful to me is LinkedIn. Like I'm have a lot of cannabis industry connections on there, so my feed is constantly being updated with different cannabis and news articles and different things related to cannabis. So that's what's helped me a lot. As far as like any specific blogs, I don't follow any like specific blogs that I think would be good or that I would recommend or anything.
Are there any cannabis conventions for people who are in the industry?
Oh yeah. There's conventions all the time going on everywhere. So that's always a good place as well. Like if you're interested in getting in the industry, going to a convention is a great way. Like I've met, some of my business partners at some of these conventions. So it's the conventions now they're kind of like not as good. Like earlier, like 4 or 5 years ago, when they first started doing like MJ BizCon is one of the biggest conventions. It's probably the biggest cannabis convention in the world. It happens here in Vegas every year. It's actually happening next month here, but yeah, like that event, in the beginning, like the first few years, I met a lot of really, really good people there and learned a lot and, met a lot of good contacts. So definitely conventions, you can definitely meet people and, you know,
So what's the name of that convention again?
called MJ BizCon.
MJ BizCon, and that's next month.
Yep.
Right. So I'm curious, how much does that convention cost?
Dispensary. I mean, I think the convention, if you go, like to all the events and all that and everything. It's like $800 for a pass. It's just the expo that you go to. You know, it's like $300 or something like that.
So is that in Las Vegas or where is that?
Yeah, it's in Las Vegas.
Nice, nice. So, family, you guys can go to Las Vegas, go to a marijuana convention, and count it as a business expense.
Hey,
There you go. I like it. I like it. You know, so that's one. Have you heard of many others, or is that just really the main one?
well, I mean that's the biggest one. There's
Oh, wait a minute. Someone says check out Canacon. Is that, did I say that right?
yep.
Canacon? I don't
Canada.
know.
Yeah, they have different states. Like I know there's one recently in Oklahoma. They have them in Michigan. They have them. There's you just look up cannabis conferences. They have them all the time, and there's new ones that pop up all the time in different places.
Now, someone said, I think it was Daryl, he said event planning earlier. Maybe that's the ticket. You just plan the events for the people who want to know about cannabis, the cannabis industry, because I think most people are not like you. So I think most people don't know anything about this industry, but they're very curious. And so I really think there is probably going to be big money in educating people about cannabis and the ins and outs of the industry.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a whole like thing that encompasses the industry. Like there's money in so many different parts. I mean, we didn't even touch on like the hemp aspect, like industrial hemp, like fiber and the now they're making hempcrete, they're making plywood, they're making textiles, they're making everything.
Wait a
So
minute, you said hemp what?
like hempcrete is like concrete but made out of hemp.
Oh, okay, okay. Why would that be better than regular concrete? I'm just curious.
It's a lot less. It's not as heavy. It's got better like insulation value. You know, and it's easier to hemp is it's a crop that you can just grow and cycle through quickly. You know what I mean? So
Ah,
it's easier on the climate than doing any other, just like it is even with the textiles. It's easier, it's better than cotton. Cotton is you have to use a lot of pesticides for cotton. You have to use a lot of the way it's grown. Hemp is just a way more reasonable thing to use for textiles, but it's just not there yet, and the technology is not there. But it's gonna eventually. That's where it's going. Like the industry, it touches like everything. Like I said, it's now they're coming out with different types of food products. Everything you can think of from on the food side, is happening within the cannabis industry as well. So drinks and
I need you to break this down if you know anything about it. And Tall Dark, if you could look this up. Daryl says the first Model T was made of hemp. What in the? I've never heard any. Daryl,
He's Henry Ford's first car that he made.
Yeah, but that's what I'm. Yeah, it was made of hemp.
Yep.
What?
They say the Declaration of Independence was signed on hemp paper.
Man. Wow. There we go. No, wait, but how was the Model T made of hemp?
The panels, all the chassis, all that stuff was hemp. Everything, the whole car was pretty much made out of hemp except for like the mechanical parts. But that
is one of the best fun facts, Daryl. Thank you so much. That is one of the best fun facts I've. It's like what?
Yeah, no, it was. They say it was once required for everybody in America to grow hemp. Like it was a requirement by the government that we were all supposed to grow it because they used it for rope and different things. So
wow,
it was And it was in all of the medicines too prior to it being banned. Like it was, the major pharmaceutical companies all had cannabis tinctures that they used to sell and different cannabis medicines that they sold. You know,
Wow, wow. So we were making engines and everything out of this stuff. You know what? You've made me smarter today. I definitely did not know that. In a million years, if there was is there an SAT question with some, put that question on the test, on the SAT and the ACT. That's what you need to do. That is shocking.
mm-mm-mm.
I
Yep.
did not. I did not know that. That was funny. That was really good. Is there anything else? Because I do know that you were telling me about some serious challenges. You had a couple of articles that you wrote. You were telling a story about how being in this industry particularly affected you. You can talk about it if you like, or you cannot share that.
No, it's just the stress. Yeah, like I've had times where literally I went to the hospital because of stress from being in the business. Just dealing with how the stress levels that came with it. So it, it's it's definitely it's affected me a few different times. Like it's literally put me in the hospital just out of stress levels. And
Right.
you know, like I've had times where I've had to deal with all types of things. You know what I mean? So you don't know how you're gonna even make it to the next month. And that's how stressful this business can be. You know.
Do you think that being in this business is different than being in any other business, or do you think it's just par for the course as an entrepreneur?
The fact that it's still federally illegal, the fact that you can't bank, I mean, there's a lot of things that make it unique from any other business, right? But at the same time, it is still like any other business, right? It's still a lot of the same. Well, 90% of all small businesses failed after their first year or whatever it is. I think that's what the statistic is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Business in general is tough. Cannabis business is even tougher. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's even tougher if you're a minority or if you're coming from a place where you don't have deep pockets. So it's just the chips are definitely stacked against the common person in the cannabis industry.
So if you don't have a lot of money, so if you're poor, it's working against you. And if you're a minor, are there a lot of minorities in the cannabis industry? I'm just curious.
I mean, there's a lot of us, but there's not. There's not a lot of minority ownership. There's probably a lot of minorities that work in the industry and do this, but if you're looking at like a C level and above, there's not a whole lot.
Okay.
Most of
Okay.
them who are minorities who are in the industry come from like the entertainment industry or professional athletes or what I mean, those guys.
So what is the financial footprint of the cannabis industry? How big is it?
Worldwide or just here in the US? Or
Let's go with here in the US.
I see, it's billion. I think I don't want to misquote what it is, but I know it's like billions and billions. Like I think I read like somewhere 33 billion or something.
Wow, 33 billion. Tall Dark, if you can let us know what you find, that would be great. And then you said something about worldwide. How is America ranking with you know our other partners across the world when it comes to the cannabis industry? How are we partnering with the rest of the world?
Well, America's not doing a lot of partnering right with the rest of the world to a certain degree. I mean, there are corporations that are moving into different countries, but a lot of that's happening in Canada, right? The Canadian companies, cannabis companies, are doing a lot of the international stuff because they're federally legal, so they're allowed to export and import and do things like that. So a lot of the Canadian companies have already gone to different countries and started setting up operations in different countries, like
Mm,
Colombia, Germany, you know, Macedonia, you know, a bunch of different other places.
mm.
But
Um,
trend now is South Africa, all these places, all these countries, multiple countries in Africa now have started to at least gone medical. So it's happening all over the world now. The dominoes are falling everywhere.
hmm. So why do you think the dominoes all of a sudden started falling?
I mean, it all starts here in the U.S.
So
So
they're doing it. Okay. Okay.
every,
Daryl says by 2025, it should be a 25 to 30 billion-dollar business.
right, say that's right, something like 30 billion.
So what do you think America needs to do next in order to be a leader? Because if Canada's kicking our butt, we need to get it together quick. So what does America need to do?
Canada is not kicking our butt at all, by
Oh,
far.
they're not kicking our butt. Okay, well, that's
They've
fantastic. That's good to
done a lot of
know.
national stuff, but America is still by far, like, the MSOs here in America and just America in general is by far the leader in cannabis. There's so many. I mean, you got a lot of big companies that are doing it, and you just got so many legacy growers here. You got states like California that have been doing it forever. And so, like, there's not a lot of places in this world that have the same experience that Americans have, because they've you know been doing it for a little bit longer. I mean, other than maybe like the Netherlands, and those guys over there, you know. But
They got us beat. They got us beat. Okay, so it looks like only about 1% out of the over 2,000 licenses in Colorado, only 20 are owned by Black and Latinos.
yeah,
That's pretty
right.
significant.
Like here in Nevada, there's probably 5 that I know of total out of like 300. There's at the most 5 or 6.
That's rough stuff. That is rough stuff. So, oh my gosh, you know what, Sal? I really appreciate you hanging out, here with me tonight. I can say I've never had anybody, light one up here on Epic Understanding. So, you're first, groundbreaking. But it's very fitting, being that we are talking about the cannabis industry. So,
That's
you know,
breaking down stigmas. You know what I mean? So
mhm.
what I like to do.
I used to have like I don't know, it was like a nightcap show or whatever. So, I never had anybody. Well, did I have anybody ever? I don't know. I definitely had somebody take a drink or two, you know, on there. But it's always good. This is a real business, and it's an important business. Um, it might be a transformational business, quite frankly.
Right. I agree.
You mentioned generational wealth. I believe that it's going to create some new billionaires.
Yeah, so let's just hopefully there'll be some, opportunities. Like I said, my whole thing is this. Look, I always talk about the industry and how unfair it is for people of color, for poor people, for everybody in general to even get into the business. Period.
Hmm. Hmm.
Very much dominated by big money and corporate America and all that. So it's very tough. But at the same time, like, I tell people, like, if you really want to do it, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can, if you can't, there's always a way. You know what I mean? So, like, you can always find a way to make it happen for you.
I think that I would make a great lobbyist in Washington for the marijuana industry. There you go. That's my job.
Yeah.
I don't need to touch the plant. I just want to, go to Washington and, lobby for the little guy. That's what I want to do.
All right. That's what you should do. Like I said,
oh my gosh. So are there any parting words, anything you want to leave everybody with?
Nah, I got nothing.
You got nothing. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. There's always something here, interesting here on Epic Understanding. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So thank you so much. And bye-bye for now, everybody.